We have a question here from Supervisor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Knoll, if you would just briefly explain the EIR process and mention that the public will have additional opportunities to weigh in during that process. If you could do that, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Patterson, the first effort here, once your board approves the contract, is for the consultant to prepare what we call the administrative draft EIR. And that's a draft of the EIR that is for in-house use only. We review that for adequacy. We put that in the county's language and make sure that all of the county's policies and whatnot are represented in that. And once we think that that EIR is ready, we release the draft EIR then for public review. That public review period is 45 days long, and agencies as well as the public have the opportunities to submit written comments on that draft EIR. Once that 45-day review period closes, all of those written comments are then responded to by the consultant and staff. And those comments and responses then wind up in the final EIR, which is then used by the Planning Commission and ultimately, if on appeal, your board to make an informed decision on the project.
One of the public's concerns was the apparent inconsistency with the general plan that you alluded to, and I'm wondering if you could comment on that. Whether that is atypical, a situation that is atypical, or if that's part of a normal process.
This is it's normal, but we don't see it all the time. In the interest of shortening my initial presentation, I left that out, so I'm glad you brought it up. Mr. Kleeman felt in his letter indicated in his letter that he felt that the project was inconsistent with the general plan because as part of the project, the applicant is now proposing to incorporate recycling of asphalt and concrete on the proposed quarry site. That recycling is considered a special use. And that special use, according to our ordinance, is allowed as long as you have a waste disposal facility on site. So you can see that our ordinance is a little bit out of date in that it isn't recognizing that material of the sort that will come from this quarry oftentimes needs to have recycled material in it. And so that addition to the project description and approval of that, if the project gets approved, will require a modification. It'll require a modification of section 23.30.380 in order to allow that proposed recycling. And along with that, special findings will have to be made. Does that answer the question?
Well, it does, but partially.
Okay.
The allowable use then of this additional process would get scrutinized in the EIR, and then any changes that are necessary to conform with the general plan will be recommended and be a part of the recommendation.
Yes to the first part, no to the second part. This modification does not represent a change to the general plan. It merely allows the special use to occur in conjunction with a quarry operation.
Okay, and it would be site-specific and only apply to this.
That is correct.
Situation.
That is correct. And not to confuse this wrinkle with the interpretation that your board heard once upon a time. And that proposal was to allow asphalt production on site.